Chris Thomas, born October 3rd, 1982. The early 2000s had to be one of the most exciting eras for players and mainly point guards in college basketball. It seemed like every program had at least one player that made watching very interesting, especially when they went at each other. One point guard that always stood out in that era was Chris Thomas. When you think of college point guard, you imagine what he embodied. A four-year guy, great leader, shooter, scorer, even better passer, and his teammates and coaching staff love having him run the show. There's players in college you can tell are all hype and probably wouldn't have the same success in the league. Not Thomas. I just knew he would be a great fit in the NBA, but he never got to play one single game. Here's 3 stunts in his growth that didn't allow it to happen. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Chris Thomas is from Indianapolis, Indiana, a place where basketball is everything. In a place like this, high school basketball can be ultra competitive. In his 4 years, Chris led Pike High School to 2 state championships, was Mr. Basketball for the state, and a McDonald's All-American. He would choose Notre Dame over Stanford, Michigan State, and Duke. Because of the exposure Duke would have given him, who knows, maybe that would have been a great choice. At the same time, Notre Dame was also a great fit in style, coaching, and freedom he was afforded, and the fact it was an in-state school where he was known and could continue his comfortable play. Right off top, you must know, in my opinion, Chris was the best Notre Dame point guard ever. In fact, in their 200-year anniversary, he was named the program's first team selection as the point guard of the All-Notre Dame team. He embodied Notre Dame, even down to how he looked. He was exactly what the program was looking for, and was lucky to have him for 4 years at that. Thomas hit the ground running, to say the least. In his first game as a Fighting Irish, he recorded the first and only triple-double in program history, with 24 points, 11 assists, and 11 steals. He finished as the Big East Freshman of the Year. If you know early 2000 Big East basketball, you know how big that is. Moreover, he finished as the Basketball News National Freshman of the Year. In 2001-2002, there just wasn't a freshman point guard better than him. And all that is a byproduct of him choosing the perfect school and coach, and also being ultra talented, crafty, and having ideal college game. He finished his freshman season averaging 15.6 points and a career high and conference leading 7.6 assists, ranked 3rd in total and 5th in average. Thomas was ascending, and much faster than even he probably imagined. Stunt number 1, too much of a good thing. The great Nas Jones rapped the words, "Too much of anything will hurt you." These words rang true to Chris Thomas's time as an amateur, and I happen to see and say this a lot. He stayed in school too long. Maybe not for life in the grand scheme, but as far as making it to the NBA, his tenure was overdue. We also have to realize, in his era, one and done wasn't a thing, and it wasn't unheard of for guys to stay all 4 years and be drafted high in the draft. After his freshman year, he could have left for sure, but I understand why he came back, and part of that is because what was previously mentioned, and the fact he was comfortable. We recently heard a Zion Williamson interview where he talks about this. When you choose that perfect school, you get blinded to what's best for your future, especially as a young man just past or still a teenager. You're the man in college. Going from that to playing with grown men where you'll resort to fetching chicken sandwiches and carrying travel bags is something you think about. You definitely have to have someone in your ear giving you objective advice, not wanting you to stay because it benefits them, or wanting you to leave because it benefits them. Visit stuntedgrowth3.com now for critique on your game as well as advice and consulting on your future. As a sophomore, Thomas was even better. He averaged 18.7 points a game and 6.9 assists. At this point, he was arguably the best point guard in college. His team was winning, and he made the NCAA tournament where they lost in the 3rd round to Arizona. He shot a career-high 38% from 3, 40% from the field, and high 80s as always from the line. He did average crazy amount of turnovers at 4.2 a game, but if I were consulting him, I'd tell him to leave right then and there. There was nothing else he could prove at Notre Dame. His team wasn't going to win a national championship no matter what. He showed he could improve, and he wasn't getting any younger. Returning to school is risking your play falling off, lack of team success, aging, and injury. Stunt number 2, injury. Chris came back for not 1 but 2 more seasons. As a junior, he improved once again in scoring at now 19.7 points a game. I don't know what it is left for this guy to do. Let me tell you something you may already know. It's human nature to always want something newer or younger. No matter how good that thing has been to you, you will always prefer a newer version of said thing. Picture that watch you really love, or ladies, that bag you can't do without. If I said, okay, I'll give you that same thing, just a new one, you're taking it, no doubt. The NBA thinks the same way. Youth is always coveted, and every year you return to school, your value depreciates. Not saying you're dead in the water, but that water is definitely getting hotter. Chris should have been left school in my opinion, and here's the biggest reason why. On April 9th of his junior year, he injured his left kneecap and had to have arthroscopic surgery to repair it. A college athlete right at the door's worst nightmare. He averaged a career-high 19.7 as a junior and 4.7 assists. Although better than his previous years, he was now years older than freshman prospects, wasn't winning much, became a usual face to NBA scouts, and now has this injury that happened right at the end of his junior season. This meant he had no choice but to come back for a final year, a year where his scoring dropped because of him playing through injury as well as minutes and team success. After his senior season, he virtually had no shot at being drafted. He was an older guy, had a scary knee injury, didn't improve his production in his final year, and his team wasn't winning. And this is why you strike when the iron's hot. Freshman or sophomore. If you have a great year at any of those points, coming back shouldn't even be an option. I hate to say it that way, but that's how the game goes. Stunt number 3, program impact. Besides his freshman and sophomore years where he had former NBA guard Matt Carroll, Chris's teams were really bad. As a junior, they were 19-13 and 9-7 in the conference, failing to make the NCAA tournament. As a senior, his team was 17-12 and again 9-7 in the conference, failing to make the tournament for a second straight year under his sole leadership. This is the nail in the coffin for a guy coming off a severe knee injury that took parts of his production as an individual player already. On top of not winning, Thomas was extremely turnover prone, averaging 3.2 for his career, with a career high as a sophomore of 4.2. He also shot the ball decent, but when teams are on the fence about you and you have all these issues against you, there's just no shot for you. You're older, injured, team isn't winning with you, turnover prone, and you're a smaller guard that's not athletic. At this point, things just aren't looking up. All in all, Chris was a great college point guard who I loved watching. He was tough, he had heart, and never backed down from any other guard in the nation. He was a great student athlete and an example of what it means to stay in school, get your diploma, and have great individual success. He just had some unfortunate stunts in his growth that he just couldn't surmount. He would go undrafted in the 2005 NBA draft and took his talents overseas, where he had a good career. He's now a professional basketball trainer who previously worked as a financial advisor and assistant coach. Appreciate everything he's done for the game, and I wish him all the best, man. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth, and I'm out.